And another Mike and Mike's off-air podcast. Your friend from the new My 97.5 in afternoons, Mike O'Neill, along with
Mike Pesto. Getting to this a little late this week. It's just been one of those weeks.
Oh, man.
That there's been a lot of stuff.
It's like this
going
week
on.
won't end, and I mean something's going to happen tomorrow, and we won't even be here. We can't talk about it till Monday.
One of the things that kind of leapt at us kind of midweek, I think it was the same day that we normally do our podcast, and I've been talking about this on the air a lot this week, is the upcoming conversation we're having with Tyler Henry.
You love this stuff.
I really do.
I was joking with Mike. He's on his epitaph. It's going to be voted most likely to be found in a haunted firehouse somewhere, just looking for ghosts.
I'm so intrigued by him. When we first talked with him 2 years or so ago, when his first Netflix show dropped, I thought, okay, this is a pipe dream. There's no way I'm going to be able to track him down. And I forget who it was. It was someone that listens every morning to me and to you every afternoon who said, hey, I think I have an in for you.
Wow.
And that led to someone, and that led to someone. It was one of those deals. And then I finally got in touch with his publicist. And once I got in touch with her, it was, sure, how much time do you want? And we got like 20 minutes with him over the phone.
But Mike, Tyler's a psychic. Shouldn't he have known? Shouldn't he have known?
I think I joked with him about
All right,
that.
sorry.
What's a little nerve-wracking with this is we've all done Zoom.
Right.
Because of the pandemic and everything. This is going to be my first celebrity Zoom conversation. So they're going to record the audio and the video on their end and then send it to us at some point. So it's taking place at 2 o'clock Monday.
So it doesn't sound like this is a final
Basically,
project? Yeah. Nice.
They'll process it a little bit, and then they'll send it on our way. So it won't sound like I'm in the studio. It'll sound like we're both studio quality from what they've told me. And we'll get the video that we can post as well.
Sweet. That'll be absolutely perfect. Looking forward to that, Michael.
So if anyone has any questions, I got 25 minutes. I've talked with him once already, and it was almost all exclusively my stuff. I want everyone else in on this. So, Mike, seriously, if you can come up with any questions, I'll ask Jennifer Grant. If anyone watching this on YouTube or listening on our website wants to ask him a question, call me Monday morning at 622-1449 or email me, pesto, P-E-S-T-O, at my975fm.com. 25 minutes, I almost guarantee I'll ask everybody's questions.
Sounds like fun. I'll talk to my wife and see if she's harboring something.
So, another thing I wanted to bring, I've got like paperwork things. These are all things this week that I talked about on the show that I would have loved to have had somebody else in the studio with me to talk about.
Right.
Did you hear the story? I mean, Fresno makes news all the time, usually with bad stuff, car thefts and poor air quality and everything else. Well, we made some national news earlier this week. Did you hear about Pablo Serrano?
Not by name.
I'm going to mention his name a few times. Pablo Serrano owned a taco truck.
Okay.
So he had his truck robbed. I mean, they had cameras in the taco truck. Someone came into the taco truck, robbed him at gunpoint of some $800. Then stole the truck.
Wow.
So Pablo Serrano, again, I'll say his name a few more times, went to the Tulare County Sheriff's Office and reported the crime.
Right.
Shortly after that conversation, they got a phone call of a vehicle on fire. Turns out it was his truck.
Was that the vehicle on fire the other night?
I believe it was. $80,000 taco truck.
Lord.
All ablaze. So out $80,000, $800 that were stolen cash. Well, of course, the Sheriff's Office did their due diligence and tried to figure out what happened.
Right.
Turns out Pablo Serrano was involved in an insurance scam.
Oh.
He staged the whole thing. Had friends of his pretend to rob him of the $800.
Lord.
Had a friend of his steal the truck, set it on fire so he could file the insurance claim. Pablo Serrano, P-A-B-L-O-S-E-R-R-A-N-O, allegedly.
Yes.
Need to cover ourselves legally.
Jeez, man.
Did all of that. Tulare County Sheriff's Office continuing the investigation. But that's their assumption at this point. Again, allegedly, that's what all went down.
Not even a good try, though, really.
I wonder how long it was, time frame, between him going to the sheriff's office, reporting the crime, and when they figured out what they believe actually happened.
And then in his head, oh, crap, they know.
A little voice on his shoulder.
Yeah.
How much have you been following Ray-Ban?
0. Okay, you can tell I'm a little angry about it.
This is in your wheelhouse.
No, it's just I love the Olympics, but there were a couple of things. This was one of them. Olympic sport? I don't think so. Breakdancing? Come on, Michael.
You know what? If you're going to have badminton, and ballroom dancing,
And someone's going to get mad at me. Curling on the winter.
See, I love the curling.
Yeah, but
I
it's
really
like,
do.
how do you...
But if you're going to have curling in the winter, you have to have jarts. Remember that?
Jarts.
Lawn darts? Where you throw it up in the air, trying to land it in the circle? Or shuffleboard. Or something like that in the summer.
Or cornhole.
Yes!
Olympic cornhole, ladies and gentlemen.
We joked about this last week of Olympic sports that really should be, especially with the games being in Los Angeles.
Some of those cornhole guys can literally each time, bam,
Yeah,
right in the hole.
Blindfolded.
Yep.
It's muscle memory.
Yep.
Now, I'm wondering, and we'll get back to Ray-Ban here in a minute, but with all the weightlifting competitions that take place in the Olympics, and there are quite a few,
I watched some of it.
are they going to do those on Muscle Beach? How insane would that be?
That would be fun.
Because that's always indoors. And move that to outdoors, or at least in a gazebo type setting, so maybe it's covered.
But if it does, guys, no Speedos, for the love of God, please, really, okay? Give us a break.
So, obviously not a fan of breaking, as they called it during the Olympic Games, but with Ray-Ban's performance specifically, do you think she should have even been there? Did you see it? I have not seen it.
I did see some of it, and again, for me, it was all. I remember junior high, but why is this in the Olympics?
I saw some not Olympic breakdancing, again, breaking if you want to call it that, which is, again, what they called it during the games, not the video of the games themselves. I can't find them anywhere. But I just went on YouTube and I just did a search of competitive breakdancing, and the things they can do
Are crazy. They can snap. They can snap in half. I mean, they're just so flexible and so tight in their moves.
And I think we talked about this last week in talking about Olympics in general, just a parkour type competition where you need to reach something. So it's more like track and field, parkour up a wall sort of thing.
Sort of a track and field version of the Ninja Show that's on NBC.
Yes, American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
Which we love. My son and I love that show.
Colin and I watch it all the time.
Yeah,
we know all the courses and all the tricks.
Something like that with the Olympics would be good. And if you want to have that in replacement of breaking, I wouldn't mind it. The judging of it just seems so difficult. It's the same reason I will have a problem 2 years from now with figure skating. It's beautiful. I get that. But the judging on it just seems so arbitrary.
Well, that's definitely an Olympic sport in my mind. Those skaters, both men and women, are absolute athletes. They have legs like guys that climb telephone poles, and somehow are still beautiful. The ladies, anyway, and they move so beautifully. And can do things that none of us can do. I couldn't do a quad to save my life. I firing line or a quad. I'm getting shot. It's not going to happen. I mean, some of these guys and gals can do things no one else can do.
I completely agree with you. It's when it comes to the judging, every single year, and it usually happens with gymnastics as well with the Summer Games. I didn't hear about it happening this year, that there's some controversy regarding the judging because judges will see it this way. Olympic diving is the same thing. Anything where you have judges judging the competition as opposed to track and field where the discus went as far as it went. If you throw it farther than anyone else, you win. In track and field, if you cross the finish line before anybody else, you win. It's not like in Olympic skating or gymnastics, if you end your routine before someone else, you win. It's all up to the judges,
but
sometimes it does get political.
And they're I know. I mean, a common joke in vernacular. Ooh, the Russian judge, so harsh. And that was like a joke through the 80s and 90s because the Russian judges were, everybody else gave them an 11, they gave them a 5.
Except on their own.
Yes.
Then they gave them a
111.
27. You can't give out a 27. It's on a 10 scale.
But again, we could see that. It was like, they'll take arbitrary for 300, Russian judge. So, yeah.
Yeah, with Ray-Ban in particular. Now, Adele, I didn't hear her, but apparently Adele in concert the Sunday or a couple of days after the games had closed was raving about Ray-Ban. Now, I don't know if it was tongue-in-cheek. I haven't seen it to hear if there was a little something in Adele's voice when she said it, but it did grab my attention. In fact, I talked about it the following day on the air, but her performance in particular, I've seen little bits and pieces of her doing other routines. Again, not the Olympics. I don't know that she should have been there.
And again, I don't think any of them should have been there. That, if you want to put that on so you think you can dance, go. But no.
The only thing I did see definitively was, and I forget who it was, on Jimmy Fallon's show, someone who was on SNL years ago with Jimmy Fallon came out dressed as her and did a routine. And, there were parts of her routine that seemed like it was more difficult than the routine that Ray-Ban
Wow,
did.
that's not a good thing.
If we can find it, we will post it. And, we do a video of the week every week. If I can find that video, or just video of her in general doing her thing, maybe we'll make that the video of the week.
That'll be fun. Anyway.
All right, so kids are back in school.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Governor has come out and said he's not going to make it a mandate. Some states have. South Carolina, Utah, Florida, Louisiana, no phones at school. Not just in classrooms when class is in session, but no phones, period.
So they can't come on the campus.
Either they can't come on the campus, or when you show up, they will confiscate them, ask to have them. You can get them back at the end of the day.
Put them in the basket or whatever. And
correct. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago. We didn't have it as a poll question. Now that it's actually being heavily suggested, I thought it would be a good idea to find out at least what the Visalia Unified School District is doing. So you can have your cell phone with you, but, and this seems like a no-brainer, during class time, and this is an actual email that my daughter got. She's now going to a Visalia Unified School District school. Cell phone policy. All Visalia Unified School District schools will continue to implement our current cell phone use policy, which I have to find out exactly what that is, but then goes on to say, students are allowed to bring cell phones on campus, but cell phones shall be turned off during instruction time. No problem with that whatsoever.
I'm sure the teachers are turning cartwheels because, you have to pay attention to me now.
Now, I have a friend of mine who works in the Porterville School District who said, that's fine, but the problem, as she saw it, really is in between classes and during lunch and times like that where kids are filming each other doing this and doing that. And one thing that she mentioned, which kind of disturbed me, is going into the bathroom and recording videos. Now, if it's just of themselves, that's their own stupidity, that's fine. But if they're recording other kids in the bathrooms and posting that on social media, then we got a problem.
Then they need to go to jail because that's a crime.
I would think so.
That's a 1,000% wrong.
So she was all in favor of strict ban across the board, like has been done in other states. You cannot have it on campus. If you bring it, you will get it back at the end of the day. I'm very hesitant with that.
Well, there's something I would want to look into. When there has been a school shooting, when a school shooting is happening, who typically makes contact with the police department?
And they kind of mentioned that, I think it was in a meeting that we went to, that the school will, and from all accounts, whenever there's been incidents on campus, my son goes to Mount Whitney.
Right.
Last year, you may recall, there were a ton of fights to start the school year. Apparently, there was some beef that was at the end of the school year the year before.
Got carried forward.
And it carried over to the next year. And for the first 3 or 4 days on campus, every day my son was saying, there was another fight at school.
coach is working overtime.
But we got text messages to let us know, hey, this is what's going on. And the school district, very good, and the high school, very good about letting us know what was going on. I mentioned this before, and it really hit me because I have a very vivid imagination. You may remember when we talked about it, that my fear is I hear, because we are in the news gathering business in a sense, with the fact that you have your afternoon show, I take care of mornings.
Yep.
That it's our job to kind of be on top of what's happening here in the South Valley. And
Yes.
if we hear about something maybe reported by Visalia Stringer or one of the news stations in Fresno, first thing that I'm going to want to do as a parent is get in touch with my son.
I get that. I have kids too.
Yeah, and what if his phone is not on silent mode? What if he's someplace hiding from whoever it is that's walking the campus looking for people, and suddenly that person hears a phone ringing, and it's because I am calling my son? I can't do anything. As a parent, we always think that we are the ones that are always going to protect our kids. At some point, this is just me talking. I'm not going to say this for any other parent. I need to say, police officer, you're the one trained to handle this situation. Go in and save our kids. I will stand back, although know that I want to jump in the fray. I'm just not trained to do that sort of thing.
Well, see, I feel the same way you do. I've thought, we've all thought that. Any good parent, I think, has thought these scenarios through. 90% of what I would do would potentially screw things up because they could be hiding, they could be running. I can't engineer from afar any real remote help. Mm-hmm. I'm not Liam Neeson. It's not Taken. It's not Pretend. I'm going to guess that 99% of the time the school gets in touch with police, the secretary, or somebody at the other end of the school from where the shooting's happening. Bam, we're calling. It's probably not one of the kids, and it's not going to make it any easier for the shooter if the kids don't have their phones. It'll just make it a little harder for the parents to get in touch with the kids at the south end of the event. But again, I think we have to have faith that they're doing what they're doing well, and we'll find out. I mean, if my child gets shot, God forbid, I can't change that. If he is safe and he's waiting to be picked up, I will be informed. If I do something in the middle to screw that up or make it worse, I can't do that. So I have a feeling that in the final analysis, it's probably beneficial.
As far as I know, every school district in the South Valley, I know Visalia Unified School District, has a resource officer, an actual Visalia police officer on campus whenever school is in session.
And they all know who he is.
Yeah, and
or she
will walk around and interject. They will not get involved, from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong again, if you're watching on YouTube, comment. I don't believe they get involved for anything involving the students. If there's a fight on campus, they will not jump in the fray. Unless there is a weapon that is brandished, in which case that is an actual crime, then they will jump in. But if it's a verbal fight, even if it's a physical fight, they will not jump in unless requested by one of the administrators there. They are there strictly to protect students from anyone coming on campus to do harm.
All right. Yeah, so I think it'll be okay for the phones to be off. Don't you?
I do.
Again, it's nerve-wracking as a parent not being able to, are you okay? But then what if, like you said, what if it rings and trouble's 5 feet away from my hiding son?
The off is, I think we both agree with the off. I go back and forth on the no phone on campus at all. I mean, that is like Linus with the security blanket.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily need it. It may, in some senses, be more harmful than good, but it's nice to. It's like an insurance policy. It's nice to know it's there. You hope you never need it. God forbid that type of situation.
Turned off in a bucket, it'll be okay. Mm-hmm. As soon as the event is over, can we get our phones? Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, I lean more and more towards during class time, turn it off. If you're found with it, then we'll deal. I mean, that is breaking policy. That's either detention or you get a first warning, whatever it happens to be. Now, just for shoots and giggles, as it were, because I edit myself on that one.
my
There's
favorite
one thing
expression.
with that email that I read earlier. I read that to my son, and he's like, "Well, wait a second. That can't possibly be the policy." I'm like, "Anthony, I'm reading the email from the school district. Again, students are allowed to bring phones on campus, but phones should be turned off during instruction time." Explain this one to me. Apparently last year, maybe the policy has changed, but last year at his high school, if he wanted to use the restroom, you don't raise your hand and disrupt
Right.
the class. You were supposed to text the teacher.
I'll take irony for 200, Alex,
So, how are you supposed to text the teacher?
with my turned off cell phone.
Exactly. I
love it.
All I can think is maybe the policy is a little different when it comes to high school versus the school my daughter is going to. Or maybe the policy has changed. Again, if anyone knows how exactly you're supposed to text on a turned off phone,
Yeah.
comment on the YouTube video.
I haven't seen that feature on my iPhone. It's maybe
I've seen airplane mode, but not that.
is it on the 15? I think it is. I don't know. That's wild. Good find, man.
So that's just a couple of things that I just came across. And if there's ever, Mike, anything, I know you could talk about some things in the afternoon as well that grab your attention. Think, oh, okay, I've got my own personal opinions on this, but I sure would like to find out what someone else feels about it. To find out if you kind of feel the same way about it.
I got it. And my heart is still broken for Jordan Childs that she lost her bronze.
Oh, yeah.
Still broken because it seems like they did everything right except for 4 seconds. They put the protest in according to Paris 4 seconds late with timestamps and everything, and she lost her only individual medal that she's ever.
It was a bronze, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
any medal. I
a
mean,
medal of any color.
That's still, I mean, the Olympics, you're first, second, or third. In that case, third, but still, I mean, third best compared to anybody else in that particular discipline.
And they have evidence that they did everything on. They have time-stamped evidence that they did everything right, that they did it within the minute, but they're not willing to reopen it.
Yeah, it's a shame to lose out on something like that on a technicality.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, there has to be rules, and some of them are hard and fast. I mean, it's, like you said, it's a shame that by the book it had to go the way it did.
Yeah. I think they both should get one. Nah, I don't. I don't. It sucks, though.
So you're a participation award guy.
No, that's why I overturned. I overturned myself because I'm like, oh, as much as somebody won.